Gentlemen, welcome back to the bench. Today's episode is going to be something kind of interesting, something really different. We're going to look at the M1 Garand rifle. It's a M1 Garand from the Civilian Marksmanship Program, and it was, at some point in its life, and we'll find out when as we go along, rebuilt in the mid-1960s at the Letterkenny Army Depot. And they're known for having a really unique color to their parkerizing. I think it's coming out okay in the camera, but I'll put some more light on it and hopefully not drown it out. But you can kind of see there's a really unique shade to the parkerizing on these. And this is a Springfield Armory receiver, so it's not a rare receiver by any means. It's 6-digit, so it's one of the earlier war production ones. So the first thing we're going to look at today is basically how to take down a Garand, how to take it apart. We're not going to go all the way in terms of disassembling the trigger group, the rear sight, and the bolt, but we'll get the component pieces out for the most part, get the gas system apart, trigger group out, get the bolt out of the action, get the op rod out, go over some things there, and we'll see where it leads. Eventually we're going to run headspace gauges through it, show you how to do that, which is going to require disassembly of the bolt, and I have tools and things for that. Some of the tools I use are USGI. This is one of the Garand tools. It's a multi-purpose tool. It can be used for removing the gas plug. It can be used as the handle for the cleaning rod. It can be used for taking the extractor and ejector out of the bolt. I prefer to use this tool. It's made by, what is it, Matrix Precision Parts. I've had this tool for a few years. They actually make a lot of good tools for old service rifles. I recommend if you have a Garand or two, or even M1As, that you get one of these. It makes taking the bolts apart a lot easier. You can use it on both. It's got this position for the Garand bolt, and then this position for the M1A or M14 bolt. So that headspace gauges. That's pretty much the long and the short of it. So we'll get right into the meat and potatoes over. Alright, so first thing we do, we'll lock the action open and make sure she's unloaded. And you can see in there, got an empty chamber. There's no end block in there. So now that we know she's clear, and close the action. Thumb's clear, see? Let her slide shut. We're going to leave it cocked. Oh, just winding the camera. Sorry about that. Alright, so we'll leave it cocked. And the first thing you want to do is you want to remove the trigger group. It's relatively straightforward. The trigger guard here also acts as the clip for the trigger group. And it's a back and up motion. You don't want to twist it, you don't want to yank straight back, and you don't want to yank sort of at a 45 back towards the muzzle. So it's a back and up, and you shouldn't need a lot of force. And they've got this little handy dandy little, I don't know, hole. It's a hole. I guess it was milled out or stamped out. And just back and up. And this one's a little hard to grab because my fingers are greasy. Alright, the other way you can do it, something soft like a piece of wood dowel, it's a piece of 1/4-inch wood dowel from the Home Despot. Just in there and across like that, and just nice and easy, back and up, and she'll pop. Alright, so we'll lift her straight out, or straight up, or rotate her up I should say, then lift the trigger group straight out, and that's done. One of the things you want to be careful about is on the trigger group. You've got a little pin there and a corresponding one on the other side. You don't want those to get marred up because those help hold the trigger group to the receiver. And then as you can see, just by laying it out here, you've got corresponding grooves right. Let me get this in close enough. Right there and right there. More light. Right there. So you want to make sure that you don't gouge or gall or peen any of those contact surfaces. Alright, so we'll get that out of the way for right now. Alright, trigger group out. Bring the rifle back to this position. And And actually, I'm going to adjust the camera angle up just a little bit. Just slightly wider view of what's going on. Alright, so rifle up. I like to grab the heel of the receiver and just pull up. And the receiver barrel assembly will just lift right up out of the stock. Aside. Quick note, see if we can bring this up. So you will see right there an RAP. The RA stands for this stock was re-arsenaled and or stored or refinished. Raritan Arsenal is RA. P, there's some conjecture as to what the P is for. The belief currently, according to Bruce Canfield, who's pretty much an expert on these rifles, is that that was the initial of the inspector at the time that this stock went through that particular facility. It's in pretty decent condition. Nice piece of wood. So we'll set that aside. We don't want to get any more dinged up than it already is from years of being in storage and maybe use and whatnot. And I do not know the history of this particular rifle in terms of what it was doing before it came into my hands. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, we want to get the Offspring and the Offspring follower out, and then that will take all the spring tension off of the bolt in the action. The way I like to do that is get my hand over where the Offspring comes out of the housing, just so it doesn't pop out and fly away. And you grab the forks on the follower. That's this little thing right here. You can see how it's in there at an angle. So you're going to pull it that way and let it slide down off the alignment pins. Once she's clear, you can just let her pop up easily. You slide the two pieces out. Alright, so there's a spring, and there's the follower. And we're not going to take the op rod catch or the bullet guide, or I should say the op rod catch / accelerator, or the bullet guide apart right now out of the receiver. There's no need to. It's kind of a pain in the butt. But if folks need me to at some point, I'm happy to do it. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do, we'll flip this around. I'm just going to take the gas plug out. And that's this little doohickey right here. It's slotted. Don't use a screwdriver unless you have one that's got really, it's really thick. This little dealie right here, that's all you need. And these shouldn't be in too tight. You should be able to get this out just by popping that in there and giving it a good twist. That's all. You just back it out. The threads on these are really fine, so you got to be careful that you don't strip them or gall them up either. Alright, so gas plug's out. That's a pretty bog standard gas plug. They probably made about 1 billion of these back in the day, so set that aside. We'll take the gas. This is the gas cylinder right here. It's the gas cylinder lock, and this also unscrews. Pretty straightforward. It shouldn't be tight at all. You shouldn't need to. I need some lube. And I've never actually fired this particular rifle, so this is kind of my first takedown and take a look-see at it and see how she's set up. Okay, so with that off, then the gas tube assembly, which includes the front sight, can just slide forward and out. And just like so, she'll slide right off. Off nice and easy. Set that aside. These chrome pads here you want to be careful of. You don't want to ding them up too much. Same with the threads there on the barrel. Alright, so now back to the action end here. Now, getting the op rod out. Here, in the back of the receiver, there's a little notch that's cut out. And there's a corresponding little tab on the op rod that will let you lift the op rod up and sort of rotate it or roll it out. I'm just going to kind of gently massage it past the catch here and get it out of the track all the way, and it's just going to kind of roll out just like that. There's not a whole lot to it. So now your op rod is out, and with that, the bolt can just be slid forward, slight angle, And as the left locking lug comes forward, just before it gets underneath there, a little more light. Just before that first locking lug there gets underneath here, you can kind of pop the bolt out to the right slightly. Now the tail is going to hang up a tad, so you just kind of roll the tail out as well. And that's it. Now we've got the bolt out. And let's see, what do we have here? This is an HRA bolt, so Harrington and Richardson. I think it's U stamped. Yeah, it's got a U stamped in it. And it actually looks like it's in really good condition. There's not a lot of wear on the underside. Not a lot of wear on the tail right here. One of the things you want to check is for peening or excessive wear in this area. And I don't see anything that looks excessive, so that's good. And I will take the front handguard off too. The front handguard comes off once you get the gas tube off, so we'll just gently slide that out of the way, set that aside. And there you go, you've got it broken down almost as far as you can. Now one interesting thing about this that I noticed as I was taking it apart is there's some markings on the front right leg of the receiver. Let's see if I can bring this into frame here. Okay, so you can kind of see some letters coming out there. Looks like LEAD, and below it there is a month and a day. It looks like 10 and 65. So that's a Letterkenny Army Depot. Electropenciling that's done after the Parker Rising, and 10 of 65. So October 1965 is when this one went through the hands of their skilled craftsmen. Thanks for watching, folks.